What is up, guys? Welcome to the Being Beautifully Honest podcast and channel. Thanks for being here, being subbed. If you're not, hit the button. And if you're listening on YouTube, hit the like. It's like walking in the room and hitting that light switch. Let's brighten up the place and get into the politics and BS. I had to share this with you guys because this honestly is one of, not the only, but one of the main reasons why I started doing even more political commentary, sharing my thoughts on the BS that's going on in the political sector, which there's always been BS in politics. I get that. But we are at a point in our lives where I feel like most people with common sense are tired of the shenanigans that are going on when it comes to Donald Trump because this man is crazy and all he cares about is himself. And the diehard people that follow him to I was about to say to the GRAVE, but I'll say follow him to the bandage because if you've seen the most recent clips from the RNC and see that there are nut jobs that are getting bandages or gauze taped to their ear to mimic the former president who's walking around with this gauze that is as clean as a whistle. Like there are no drippings of blood and I get it. The scraping, the shard of glass, the bruising that happened to his ear happened almost a week ago. So I get it. He may not still be dripping blood at this point in time, but also it's time to let that sucker breathe because it needs to get air so that it can heal. When you scrape your knee on the ground, you put a bandage on it immediately to cover it up. You may put some neosporin on there to help with the healing process. But eventually, your mom says, all right, it's time to take that bandage off so we can let some air get to it so that it can breathe. Him walking around with this sympathy bandage on his ear at this point in time. And now you've got people at the RNC that are wearing these bandages too to show their support is just absolutely ridiculous. But this gets to the point of what I wanted to share. So George Conway, he is the ex-husband to Kellyanne Conway. She was the woman who was on Donald Trump's team for the length of his first campaign. And then she became something in his office. Honestly, I don't even remember the title. And it doesn't really matter because it doesn't really qualify that she did real work, but she was the one that came up with the term alternative facts, which means lies. Because people call Trump out on his lies. They used to do it before. They're not really doing that much anymore unless you're not on the mainstream media like myself. And her response to that was, well, what he says are alternative facts, which means lies. But I digress. I want to share this with you guys because George Conway, he's been speaking out on the danger of Donald Trump for some time, but he is not on the mainstream media. So I'm going to share this screen with you guys so that you can check this out and see exactly what I'm talking about. So this is the website that was just made for this new pack called psychopack.org. And it's perfect because if you are familiar with politics, their organizations, people, they will come up with these political action committees. So that's what the PAC stands for. Political action committees, and they could raise money for a certain candidate because they espouse certain views, opinions, and policies that they agree with or they're against. And they're either trying to stop someone from being elected or they are trying to get someone elected. And I would say, for the most part, George Conway, he may not be for Joe Biden, but he's definitely against Donald Trump. And so you can see the website here. It says Psychopack. Voters have forgotten one important fact. Trump is effing nuts. So you can contribute, but I want to show you this video here so you can hear what he had to say.
Hi, I'm George Conway. This is the most important election of our lifetimes, and I'm sorry to say the most important issue in that election isn't being addressed, and it's not Joe Biden's age. Without a doubt, the cognitive ability and mental health of a president or presidential candidate are extremely important issues. Democrats and the media are right to ask questions about Joe Biden after the bad night he had at the recent debate. But there's a double standard being applied here, a huge one. And it's not just that Donald Trump, who's himself 78, is also showing his age. We've all seen videos of Trump slurring words.
An anomalous, really an anomalous.
And then they announced there was no bias. No, a beautiful criminal.
United States.
And rambling nonsensically about sharks and electrocution.
You know what I'd do if there was a shark or you get electrocuted? I'll take electrocution every single time.
Hannibal Lecter.
The late, great Hannibal Lecter. He's a wonderful man.
But Trump has a bigger problem, and it's not his age. It's the fact that Donald Trump has never been right in the head. I'll let others who know him explain.
He's a populist, authoritarian narcissist.
He is a consummate narcissist.
Governor Chris Sununu called Trump crazy, but
adding, I don't think he's so crazy he should be in a mental institution, but if he were in one, he ain't getting out.
He goes and he starts to say these wacky things. That's what scares everybody about him.
Our country can't be a therapy session for a troubled man like this.
John Kelly sought guidance from a book in which 27 mental health professionals warned that Donald Trump was psychologically unfit.
This man is a pathological liar, a narcissist at a level I don't think this country's ever seen.
Donald Trump's problem is he's just nuts. And he's not simply eccentric or odd in a good way. He's unwell, mentally unwell, in a dangerous way. He is indeed a pathological narcissist on a level we have never before seen. He's a malignant narcissist who is also a sociopath or psychopath. What these terms mean is that Trump is a man who cares about nothing but himself. Not you, not the country, not the laws and constitution that a president swears to faithfully execute. And it also means that Trump is a pathological liar and that he lacks any moral conscience or capacity for remorse. These are the psychological characteristics of dangerous cult leaders and dictators. They shouldn't be the traits of an American president. Now, you haven't heard any of this discussed very much in the media. And that's because too many people are afraid of talking about mental health issues, particularly Donald Trump's. Here's an example. This is a book, a memoir, written by a fine and accomplished journalist who was for many years executive editor of the Washington Post. In it, he explains how in 2019 he was urged to have the newspaper tackle head-on the issue of whether Trump was mentally ill. And he explained that this was the final taboo in covering presidents. In the end, he, along with a lot of others in the media, decided not to break that taboo. And the public remains uninformed. And not only that, the failure to treat Trump's behavior as pathological has led the media and the country, perversely, to treat his behavior as normal. And that's a big reason why we're seeing the double standard that's being applied to the candidates today. And that's the problem we're here to address. To understand Donald Trump, why he's unfit for office, and why he's a danger to the republic, you have to understand his psychological disorders. Trump's malignant narcissism explains everything about him. It explains his pathological lying.
It's a rigged election. It's the only way we're going to lose.
His misogyny.
Grab him by the pussy.
His racism.
You had very fine people.
News will not replace us!
On both sides.
His authoritarianism, his endless quests for vengeance, his love for dictators. It may even explain his recent praise of Hannibal Lecter. It certainly accounts for his criminality. 4 indictments on 88 counts in 4 courts, and a conviction in one of those courts on 34 counts. 34. Imagine that, a former president. All of this is why I'm pleased to announce the formation of the Anti-Psychopath Political Action Committee, or Anti-Psychopac for short. I'm putting my own money behind this PAC, $343,434.34 to be exact, and we'll be raising a lot more. We're going to use those resources to educate the American public about Trump's psychological unfitness for office. With the help of mental health professionals, we're going to explain how his condition poses a grave danger to our country. And we're going to encourage the media to start talking about what it should have been talking about years ago. We're also going to highlight examples of Trump's psychologically aberrant behavior as they happen, which might very well get under his skin enough to help illustrate the very points we're making. So although this is a very serious subject, we may actually have a little fun along the way. We hope you join us. Join us in learning about the dangers of Donald Trump's derangement. Join us in spreading the word. Join us by contributing, to pick a number, $34, or less if you like, or more if you can. Join us and spread the word. This country is too wonderful and important to be turned back over to a madman. Learn more at psychopac.org.
All right, guys. So you heard it. And I will put the link to the website in the description box so that you can check it out, read over it. If you want to donate, you may have never donated to any political action committee, any candidates ever before in your life, local, federal level, whatever. But this is one of the main reasons why I started talking about this, because this man really is effing nuts. And no, this country is not perfect. It's not perfect by far. There's a lot of anomalies. There are a lot of disparities. There are a lot of things going on when it comes to systemic racism and discrimination. All of that. But I 100% believe that it will get worse if this man gets in office again. Some people are trying to gaslight and say, oh, Project 2025, it's not that big of a deal. And Trump already said he didn't know anything about it. All this man does is lie. Like, do you really believe that? Now, we know he didn't read it because he doesn't read anything. He doesn't even read the tweets that he writes up. I believe that's the only thing that he actually does write. He doesn't write checks himself. He has his staff to do that, like Michael Cohen when he wrote the checks for Stormy Daniels to pay her for keeping her mouth shut. And now he wanted to convince his followers that he never had sex with her. And it's not about him having sex with her, because none of us care that he was not faithful to his wife, Melania. Melania knows that he wasn't faithful. It is the fact that she is an immigrant who is now a citizen. He wants to block birthright citizenship. I'm not saying that it's okay for all of these immigrants to cross the borders and them get more rights and everything than everyday people do that are citizens in this country. But there's just so much that is wrong with this man that I'm tired of hearing about him. And I believe that if he is reelected, it's going to usher in a younger lunatic like himself after him. But if we can just let him go ahead, finish out this race, but not get in office, like George Conway said, and like I have been saying this entire time, Trump is 78 years old. He is the 45th president. He's not 45 years old. And the mainstream media, all they're doing is focusing on Biden's age and his slip up at the debate. But they're not talking about all of those slip ups, just a few little snippets that we saw of Donald Trump on that video that I just showed you. He's had many of those. And the mainstream media, they don't showcase that. Why? Because the owners and the CEOs of these mainstream media outlets, not just Fox News, not just Newsmax, not just One America Network, they are Trump supporters. So it's their best interest that he gets back in office. I'm tired of hearing about him. I honestly want to go back to the time when every day you didn't wake. When did we have this before? We didn't even have this with Barack Obama when he was in office, where we was hearing something about the president every single day. It was something every day with him being in office. And even since then, it's something every day. Prior to Obama, we didn't hear every day about George Bush. And hell, 9/11 happened under his watch. He served 2 terms. We didn't even hear about George Bush every day. We were hearing more about Saddam Hussein and bin Laden than we were hearing about George Bush. And not that that was a good thing, but I'm saying I am tired of hearing about this man. We didn't hear about Bill Clinton every day before George Bush. Since Trump came down that escalator to announce his run for the presidency the first time, all we do is hear about this man. He loves the attention. He really thinks that he is handsome. he looks like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man from Ghostbusters, and that's just being kind because that actually was kind of a like cute character. There's nothing cute about him. But I'm just saying, I'm tired of hearing about him. I'm tired of the narcissism. I'm tired of the delusion. I'm tired of the derangement that they tried to term people who are never Trumpers, like they title themselves, or people who are not supporters of Trump derangement syndrome. But they need to flip that on him because, yeah, he's Trump, he's deranged, and that is the syndrome that we are tired of dealing with. So I really wanted to share that with you guys because to me, it summed it up perfectly as to why I even started talking about politics more than I had before. Because prior to this, I've done some topics here and there, you know, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but not too much on it. But now, anytime I see something that I feel like I need to share with you guys, I'm going to talk about it. So, guys, you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks for being here, liking, and subscribing. I'm Beth, just being beautifully honest. So, until next time, I wanted to keep it brief, beautiful, and now I'm going to say bye.